Well, first of all, thanks all for coming. It's really gratifying to see such a huge room full of people, and you're obviously very interested in anything to do with Watchmen, I think. And what I'm here to talk about really today, although I will take questions on probably any topic you like, is the book What I Wrote, which is called Watching the Watchmen, of which this is a, unhappily, blank copy. This is what to look for. In fact, I understand from the publishers it would be very hard to miss it because it's going to be very heavily displayed in Waterstones and borders and all kinds of places like that. And it will be obviously available from Amazon for pre-order. And just to get the details out of the way, it is £24.99. It is. Thank you very much. I think we should have charged more. And it's published on the 24th of October, although I understand that there may well be copies in the country already, and that, you know, if you're lucky, you could get hold of one before then. And it's published by Titan Books. This is the mass market edition. There is a diamond edition as well, which has got a different cover, and which I think has got some goodies with it, some special cards and so on, and a signature plate, of which I signed 4,000. So I can tell you that I am Dave Gibbons. I made that. Anyway, just to say a little bit about the book before I show you some pages from it. Way back in the day when Alan and I were creating Watchmen and doing it under great pressure so that it could come out on a more or less a monthly basis, we generated loads and loads of sketches and roughs and outlines and various schematics of the locations and stuff in it. And I hung on to these at the time because I didn't know when I was going to be asked to draw Dan Dryberg's Basement again or Dr. Manhattan's Palace on Mars. So I kept all these voluminous notes, and at the end of the whole enterprise it seemed a shame to throw them away. So I put them in the bottom of a filing cabinet and more or less forgot all about them. And then when the movie looked like it was going to become a reality, I was having a conversation with Paul Levitz, and I said, you know, that I've got all this material, and as a fan, which, you know, I am, although, you know, I've been doing it professionally for so long, I just love books that are collections of sketches and, you know, early thoughts on things and behind the scenes. And so I said, you know, I've got all this material, how about doing a book? And he said, yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. And I said, the only thing is, it'll have to be designed by Chip Kidd, because I don't know if any of you have got any books that Chip's designed. He did a wonderful book on Alex Ross, and he did a great book on the Batman animated series. He's a guy who really knows his comics, who really loves comics, but he's such a fantastic, innovative designer that, you know, I thought if we're going to do this book, it's got to be done the very best it can be. And in my opinion, Chip is the best there is. Chip, being a comics fan, and particularly a Watchmen fan, was absolutely on board for it. So he and his partner Mike Essel put the book together. I had to put all these precious items in a big box and actually not ship it to the States, but let it go up to London, where Titan Books had it all photographed. The thing that I like about the way Chip designs books is that he presents sketches and artwork as objects rather than as like clean camera ready artwork. You can see the coffee stains and the bent corners and the bits of whiting out and all that stuff, and you kind of get that feeling that you're holding the actual object in your hand. So all this stuff, and there were hundreds of items, was very carefully photographed and FTP'd across the Atlantic to Chip's website or whatever, and he put the whole thing together, and we battered it backwards and forwards a lot to make sure we got just the items in there that we wanted. There's some stuff you would expect, and there's some stuff that I don't think you would expect. I wrote the text for it, and it's really, you know, my memories of what happened back then. I spoke to Alan at the very beginning of it. As you'll know, Alan doesn't want to be involved with the movie, and I did ask him with some trepidation a few questions that I had about this, but he was very helpful and said he was quite happy if I used notes that he'd written, as long as it wasn't a wholesale reprinting of his script. So we've got some Alan originals in there, which are very interesting to see. Basically it's my memories of what happened. So what I'll do, if the technology is going to bless us, I will show you some pages from it. I think I press this button. No? Yes. Okay, well, what you're seeing there is actually the end papers of the book. When you open the book up, that's what you see, who makes the world. And as you know, this is one of the kind of central philosophical questions that's asked in the book, when Dr. Manhattan's having his sort of soliloquy on Mars. So that's how we open. And then, this is rather interesting. This on the left, it's one of John Higgins' colour guides. The way that the book was coloured is we did black and white photocopies of all the artwork, and John would then colour it in watercolours and coloured inks, and then you'd have to mark every single area on it with the correct colour code, because this was in pre-computer colouring days. So every colour had a reference like C2, B2, Y, which would be 25% cyan, 25% blue, solid yellow. So every colour had to be coded. So when you look at the number of pages there are in Watchmen and the complexity of the images, you can get some idea of what John had to go through to get it actually coloured. And of course it was wonderful when he came to do the recolouring for the Absolute edition, because although he was able to keep the same colour palette, he was able to clean up edges and correct mistakes that had been made in the original printing of it. John was a really vital part of the team. Although Alan and I had our name on the cover and I had my name on the film, John was a very vital member of the film and did of the team, and did incredible work. On the right is Alan's original proposal. I don't know if you can read it from there. I must admit I can't read it, particularly because it's in single space typing. It goes right up to the edge of the paper, and he's hit the keys hard enough that everything kind of goes up and down, but it says this is uncorrected and possibly illegible in places. Hope you like it. And indeed I did like it. I think this actually is from before it was Watchmen. This is when it was still the Charlton characters. As you know, DC had bought the rights to the Charlton characters and wanted Alan to do something with them. But what Alan proposed to do was probably a little more radical than they'd expected. So they very quickly said, well, can you come up with some new characters? But this is Alan's, I think it's probably runs to about 9 or 10 pages, his view of what could happen in the story.